Welcome back again. So it's time for a lab. So this whole unit has been in Objective-C. I made the videos in Objective-C, and to be honest, I think it's good for you to see Objective-C because a lot of companies don't want to change, right? Like they've got, just thousands of lines of code in Objective-C, and really the advantage of Swift is just kind of like it's more convenient for the developer, but a lot of people just don't want to change, right? So I left that all in Objective-C, and I'm going to continue to leave it in Objective-C. But what we're going to do in the lab is actually going to be a little different. So some people will want to update the Swift, and I want you to understand both languages really well. So we're going to do another exercise kind of importing from one language to the other. So you can go ahead and follow this link to go into the lab. I'll just bring it up here. And so what we're doing is we're converting a class to Swift, right? So it was all Objective-C, and we're going to convert one thing into Swift. The one that we're going to convert into Swift is the RHStudentUtils. So it's got a .h and a .m file. It's Objective-C like all the others. We're going to take those and we're going to convert it into a Swift version. And then once we kind of finish the port, we're going to delete that .h and .m file, and we're going to have just the Swift version. So I mean, I can show the app, but it doesn't really look like much. So you're going to have to be able to sign in just like before. So I'll go ahead and put in my credentials here and hit sign in. And then when the app loads, there's a specific checkoff procedure of like things you need to do. So you should have a couple grades in here. So I've got a couple assignments. You can see I've loaded in a student roster. This is a student roster from winter 14-15. And we can do things like we can see it by student, and we can see it by team. And those are the same things that you should have been able to do from the video follow along. What's going to be different here is that we're using one of them in Swift. I guess I could go to my project. So here's the app. It looks just like the other app. The only thing that's different is we've got an OAuth utils, which you fixed up. There's a dialog utils, and then there's a Swift utils, right? Or sorry, student utils .swift. So we've deleted the RH student utils. I mean, you could do a search for them if you did a search for RH student utils. There would just be none, right? So that file has been blown away. And it's been replaced by the Swift version. This is similar to some things we've done before in that there's still a bridging header. So a bridging header is useful for when your Swift code needs to call Objective-C functions, right? And so that's the only thing we've actually done before. Now we're going to do something a little different. StudentUtils does both, right? So it calls Objective-C functions, but it's also going to be called by Objective-C. That we've technically never done before. So it's going to be called by the assignments view controller. So the assignments view controller is going to call into Swift code. And the way you fix that is you actually just, wherever you call into it, you have to add an import. The name goes by your package name, which is the app name. Here the space had to be changed to an underscore. And then they just add on a -Swift. Notice for the bridging header, it's the same thing. It's the package name, and then -bridging -header.h. The difference is any Objective-C function that needs Swift code has to import it, like by itself, right? So here it's used in assignment view controller, and then here's the grade entries view controller, and you can see it had to import it as well. And so it's the first time we've ever had to do that. Also, if you look at the .h and .m file versions, you'll notice that it's all class methods and class variables, and so you'll have to figure out how to do that port. But the thing is, when you're done, it doesn't really behave any different than it did before. I mean, I'll go through some of the tasks of the checklist. So in the checklist, you have to be able to add a homework assignment or have to be able to add an assignment. You have to be able to go into it. You're going to have to be able to click on somebody, and you're going to have to add a grade for an individual. You're also going to have to go into the display by team. As soon as you click on this button, you'll know if your team map worked in your port. And you're going to have to be able to add a grade for teams as well. Looks like mine's got a little bug. I hit send and it didn't like pop in at first. I actually had to refresh it. Well, I'll have to fix that. You should just pop in even for the teams. Let me go over to a by student and add one here. Yeah, student worked fine. It's like I've got a little bug on the team side. When I add a grade, I have to pull down to refresh. So you have to be able to add things. I also want you to be able to switch over to the web client. I'll go over to the web client here. Here it is. And so now if I refresh my web client, I can see that I've got those new things added. And from the web client, if I do things like I'll delete the top person's score here and Joe's score, and then I come back over to this client, so now I deleted the top two, it should pick those up. The other thing that we're going to have you do to test your lab is to actually, delete a student. I mean, we're going to have you do all the things, right? So we're going to have you delete a grade. So here I'll just delete a couple grades from this side. And then if I refresh over here, those grades should be gone. I can see that there are fewer grades. And then the really interesting thing we're going to do is we're going to have you delete a student, right? So here I'll just go ahead and delete Jonathan. So I'll say student, edit, delete. And so here he is. So Jonathan, I'm going to go ahead and delete him. And then now over on this side, I can see that right now he's got a grade, right? And if I do a pull down to refresh, that grade goes away, but his name is still there. But if I say options, refresh student roster, his name goes away as well. And so I just want to make sure that you've got capability to do all the student roster related things that was under options, refresh student roster, that you could do before. So once you've kind of shown that you can do the same things in Swift that you could do in Objective-C, I know that you've had a successful port of that file. And then that's kind of it for the unit. So once you finish that lab and once you finish this follow along, hopefully you've got a nice crash course into endpoints with OAuth. You can see that OAuth gives you a lot more power, right? Because each person can have their own individual data, right? So it's saved just for them. We also got you a lot more practice with more complex data models. And hopefully you saw some interesting things with what you can do at the back end and more complex data models. I really like this app. I know that there's kind of a lot going on, but that whole ability to sign in and out, I think it's just really powerful. And I really like the way this one combined Objective-C and Swift and show how things really can go together here at the end. All right, that's all we've got for this unit. I'll see you next time.